Hi guys, welcome back to another video of the Q1 FY26 result season where we talk about the companies, and we analyze the companies and we tell which company has done good, which company has done decent, and then poison and shit. Okay. So, anyways, in today's video, we are going to be covering all the companies that has come out with its result on the 22nd and the 23rd of July. I didn't make a video yesterday because I was out on a road trip. Otherwise, I would have done the video earlier. But anyways, we're going to make videos on those companies that posted its result on 22nd and 23rd of July. And it's going to be a mix of all these, all the companies in these date. And I might make 3 to 4 videos because there are many companies. I think there are north of probably 50 to 60 companies in the list. So I can't obviously cover it in one video. Okay. But the first company that I'll be doing is Sky Gold and Diamond because this is one of the most requested the requested video since yesterday, since the result came. I think my DMs has been blowing up, since yesterday, I think the result came around at 1 or 12:30ish 1 around at that time. And since that time, the DMs has always been about oh, what's wrong with Sky Gold, what's wrong with Sky Gold, and so forth. Anyways, let's talk about Sky Gold and Diamonds. I believe a lot of you all right now are aware with the business model, what Sky Gold and Diamond does. If you aren't, I would request you to go to my YouTube channel, go to the business analysis playlist, and you'll find there and you can understand the business model there. Now, talking about the Q1 FY26 numbers, one thing that is evident is they had given a guidance, right? They had given a guidance we will be targeting a revenue of 5,500 crore, right? That is the target that was given, and roughly about a 4% PAT margin is what they had targeted, what the guidance was. Now, if you look at the Q1 ka revenues, the Q1 ka revenues are in line, right? If you look at it, they have done around 1,200 crores to be, I think 1,113 crores to be precise, right? Which is in line with the 5,500 crore ka, whatever the guidance is, because H1 over here, if you see for any of these gold companies, H1 is leaner compared to H2. So H2 is great. So you will have at least 60% of the revenue get clocked in H2 compared to H1. So first thing first, when you look at the sales growth, right? Sales growth is intact, right? Sales has grown by how much? 56%, and they have done around 1,100 crores in terms of revenue. Then let's talk about the PAT margin. If you look at the PAT margin, yes, PAT margin is also inching up to 4%. Just in the quarter one itself, PAT margin has reached 3.9. Similarly, if you check the operating leverage also, PAT grew by 100% if you see, right? So even over here, you see they are getting a very, very decent amount of operating leverage, okay? So overall, when you look at the result, right, when you look at the EBITDA margins is at 6.3%. Everything, margin, sales, EPS growth, operating leverage, everything is intact, okay? Now let's talk about the other business update. The most important thing along with the other sales and operating margin you check for Sky Gold is your volume growth, okay? Because it is a B2B company, यहाँ पे pricing power नहीं मिलता है, you get most of it from the volume growth. And the target was what for this year? They have to do again 450 kgs per month. Last year they were doing Q1 में they were doing around 350 kgs per month. This time their target was 450 kgs, and they have done around around the same only 460 they have done, which is again roughly the same. Again, if you look at the volume guidance that is there given, check. Okay, now let's talk about the other updates that are there. Like if you look at it, they've onboarded many new clients such as Aditya Birla, Reliance Retail, Pothys, Vegas, Kalamandir Gold, and everything, right? Again, client acquisition is getting strong. Okay, so if you look at whatever they had guided for, everything is there. Sales growth, volume growth, EPS expansion, PAT margin, that is there. Along with it, if you look at Sky Gold, right, there are other business updates that we were looking forward for. One is right now, if you remember, I think a year ago they moved into a new facility at Navi, Mumbai, where they are able to do at least 110 per month. And going forward in FY27, we should see them inching up to that 110 per month, kind of capacity, right? Now they're telling what, we are getting so much orders, we're getting so many new clients that this new capacity that we recently moved into, that will not be able to, we will not be able to cater to the demand. So they bought another facility, right? 10,000 square feet facility Laya, right? Again in Bombay, that is there. Now because of this capacity, they will go from 110 per month to 4.5 ton per month. Imagine the scale that is there. 1,000 kg se 4,500 kgs they will do. This plan is also intact. They've already purchased the land, they've already purchased that entire facility. The only thing what we have to wait in the con call is to get an update, when will this facility be commissioned overall. Okay, that is one thing. I think we can get it in Q1 ka call, because they also mentioned in the last quarter also call में हम बताएंगे. The other thing यहाँ पे अगर आप देखते हो, the reason over here is now I think for the next couple of years you can see a lot of this ROE का improvement हो जाएगा, ROC का भी improvement हो जाएगा, and bottom line में you can see a lot of margin expansion happening. Why? Because there are a couple of major changes that are happening. Let me reiterate what they told in Q4. Okay, one is, earlier if you looked at Sky Gold, what Sky Gold used to do is, let's say if I'm Kalyan Jewellers and you're Sky Gold, I used to tell कि like भाई मुझे 4000 kg का I need gold, I need chains आप manufacture करके दो, ठीक है. So you would have to, Sky Gold would have to buy the gold, procure the gold, do the work on it and do. Now what they're doing it, whoever is the new clients that are there, right, they are working on an advanced gold method. Advanced gold method, which means what, if I am Kalyan, I will have to give you the gold and you will do the work on that and give me. So inventory is, inventory ka, bawal is not my headache, right? Inventory ka bawal is the client ka headache over here. Which means what? Aapka stress on the balance sheet will be less, right? Because think about it, gold is a commodity at the end of the day, right? Gold ka utar chadav hota hai price ka. And on top of that, see, imagine already they're targeting 1 ton per month, right? Kgs that you're doing. If you're going to target 4.5 tons per month, imagine the amount of raw material, imagine the amount of gold, imagine the amount of working capital stress you'll have. It becomes impossible, right? Because see, एक है आपका GML लो, because GML में आपका interest कम है तो आपका margins बढ़ेगा. But GML को कौन क्या है? If you have to take so much amount of gold from the bank, ultimately you will have to also keep something as FD. Now, how much money will you keep in FD? FD का पैसा कहाँ से आएगा? Again, there is another stress over there. And जितना gold का भाव बढ़ेगा, उतना आपका FD का पैसा आपको deposit देना, you have to increase it. वरना आपको bank gold नहीं देगा. The other is what, you buy gold in cash, you buy via bullion, right? Again, it doesn't make any sense. So I think the venture that they're going out for, where they're moving into a advanced gold method, that is happening. The other thing is, यहाँ पे जो these people have set up an office in Dubai also, right? Last quarter they mentioned, because if they procure the gold from Dubai, right, directly, then उनका almost 10-15% का cost savings हो जाता है. So all of these three triggers that are there, one is exporting, getting the gold from Dubai, that is setting up an office over there. Second is the advanced gold method that they're doing with the clients. Third is the capacity that is coming up, and on top of that, if you see the export contribution that is there right now, if you see as of Q1 of FY25, export contribution in terms of sale is 12%. Going forward, they're targeting it by FY27 or a couple of years later, 25% coming from export. Okay? So all in all, these three triggers that are there will give you that margin expansion, right? Because inventory का stress कम हो रहा है, working capital का stress कम हो रहा है, asset turnover जल्दी होगा, right? Which will indirectly again affect your volume growth and everything, which will get your ROE up, and obviously your margins also will improve, which will result in a bottom line का expansion. So overall, you see that, right? The entire thing अगर आप देखते हो, Sky Gold का अगर आप देखते हो, there is literally no problem, right? In terms of sales, in terms of margins, in terms of the business update. If you also look at it, the business is moving literally in the right direction. आप बोल सकते हो literally, like कोई भी like there is no nudge. But here is the thing, I'll tell you one thing, okay? I know for the last couple of days, since the result has come, the stock has been hitting lower circuit. So what has happened? People are losing their shit, right? Like, shit has hit the roof, you can tell that is what is happening, because this is what happens when you don't read the con call, and when you, I would say more than reading con call now, when you don't have conviction on what you put your money on, right? This becomes a problem. So क्या होता है? 2 दिन stock lower circuit, it hits, people lose their shit. This is one thing. The other thing, let's talk about the con now about Sky Gold, okay? Sky Gold, if you remember, last time it was a 100% का growth engine. Now it is a 50% का growth engine, right? Because they're doing 5500 crore. उसके बाद वो करेगा 7500 crore, right? 7600 crore. So you can literally see थोड़ा 100% sales growth था, अभी 50%, the space of sales growth is coming down, right? So obviously यहाँ पे ये एक चीज है. The pace of growth is coming down. That is undeniably true. Obviously, as the base gets bigger and bigger and bigger, this is bound to happen, and this is there. So one is the pace of growth is coming down. Although you can tell me it is still it is still at 20 PE, right? Like a 50% growth at 20 PE. Here is the thing. It is better to have a growth engine like 100% kind of growth engine available at 40 PE or 50 PE for that matter, versus a 50% growth engine at 20 PE, right? The first case makes more sense, which was the case of Sky Gold a year ago. So if you ask me, is Sky Gold as lucrative as it was last year? The answer is no. Obviously no, right? Because the pace of growth is coming down. But is the business doing everything right in its direction? Yes, because they're getting that advanced gold. GML भी कर रहे हैं, GML का भी license मिल गया, 3 private banks है भी. Everything is going right for them in the business direction. But yes, little bit it's reaching that point, where the pace of growth is coming down, and slowly as the pace of growth comes down, the valuation थोड़ा बढ़ रहा है यहाँ पे. That is the only thing I will tell over here. But overall, good set of numbers. There is nothing to complain in terms of business direction. But yes, and to all the people who are blowing up in my DMs over here, or you also okay. I'll tell you another thing. I'll tell you my own perspective, which I know I don't do a lot of times. To a lot of people who who have purchased the portfolio analysis workshop, you also know that Sky Gold is my top holding. Like I don't think anybody has been speaking about Sky Gold other than me since the time this has come, in my radar. But anyways, over here right now also, like just my perspective I'm talking about right now where I'm at, like with my portfolio and my money and everything. I have two more companies that has come in my radar in this Q1 of FY25, where the growth, the valuations, like every other metric is at a much better place, at a much I would say much lucrative opportunity compared to Sky Gold. So for me, it's also about opportunity cost. Right now, Sky Gold available, 50% का growth engine at 20p was something available for me, at a higher growth rate and low P. For me, that is where I would prefer to put my money. Like that's something. So there is this bias also that is playing in my head, I would say. And to everybody who knows me personally or who's watched my video over a period of long time, you would know, right? Like I'm the kind of person who always looks for reasons to sell. And for me right now, if you look at it, Sky Gold, obviously it is not as lucrative as it was last year. That is the bottom line, right? That is it. But overall, great business, fabulous execution. I don't see any problem, with the way things are going. Brilliant, very excellent business, that is that. Okay, so that's that about Sky Gold. Now let's go to the other companies that are there. We will talk about Adroit Infotech, that is there, which is a new company that I saw. Now अगर आप देखते हो Adroit Infotech का, this is an IT based company. Especially अगर आप IT में बोलते हैं, it is a service based. So right, if you are in an IT company, you would use this this platform such as SAP for HANA and everything. Now let's say if a new business that is there, they want to migrate to this SAP for HANA platform, SAP platform. These people come and provide that, they do this setup, they train your employees and everything. They provide this entire solution, with this SAP का platform that is there. Okay, so यही ये करता है. अगर आप देखते हो यहाँ पे sales is up by 49% and PAT is doubled. But I would say this is more like kind of company which is unpredictable. एक quarter अच्छा करता है, then you do not know what is happening in the next quarter. I mean it's just a very ambiguous company, you can tell. And more or less यहाँ पे there is nothing to bank on, because if you look at the other metrics, I know I keep talking about sales and margins and everything, but if you look at the other metrics now, like you talk about the ROE, you talk about the ROC, none of it over here is reliable. So I would, although the sales are great over here, I would still classify it as a shit company, because again ambiguous है, and I personally, for me, I don't think this number that they have provided is sustainable. Then we have the next company, which is called as Artson. Okay, Artson जो है, it is a subsidiary of Tata Projects, that is there. So these people, they are an EPC company, and along with the EPC company, ये क्या करते हैं, they sometimes they do this they construct this material, like if you are constructing a building, you need to put up that steel structures, right? So they do this work. Shipbuilding का भी काम करता है and everything, right? So this is what they do. उनका जो majority of the orders that are there, it comes from Tata Projects itself. I mean Tata Project bids on behalf of Artson, you can tell. ठीक है, तो यही है. अगर आप देखते हो यहाँ पे, once when you look at it, when you look at the numbers at a glance, it might feel great, right? Like if you look at the sales is up by 79%. PAT अगर आप देखते हो, right? PAT has PAT is at 22 lakhs right now, versus it was at a loss of 40 lakhs in the last Q1. But here is a catch. I think this sales growth and the PAT cut development that has happened in this quarter, it is because last Q1 में, because of elections, its sales that is there, it degrew by 40%. So I think a lot of the base effect has come into it, because of which its sales जो है is growing by 79%. The other thing, as you know, लास्ट ईयर का एंटायर ईयर अगर आप देखते हो Q1, Q2, Q3 में अगर आप देखते हो, राइट, दिस बिकॉज ऑफ दिस इलेक्शन लॉट ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट्स गॉट डिलेड, राइट, एंड Q4 में ऑल ऑफ अ सडन इन Q4 and Q1 वॉट एवर द लास्ट 3 quarters का डिले was there, it got bumped into it, like all the projects started clearing. So maybe that effect is there, and that is why the sales has gone. Otherwise I don't think this company is capable of doing that kind of high growth kind of numbers. So I would classify Artson as merely a shit company, I can tell. Then we have Aurionpro, which is actually I kind of discarded this company Aurionpro because I thought it was a pharma company at first, but unfortunately it's not. Fortunately it's not. Aurionpro Solutions is, I would say, one of the companies in the 22nd of July, July ka list, which has done really well, remarkably well if you talk. So this is a IT based company, okay? So these people provide your IT ka solution. Now what kind of solutions do they provide? There are two things. One is the banking and financials. Now you might see, right, like SBI का अगर आपको app use करना है, there needs to be somebody who needs to develop it, right? Like there needs to be somebody who will, you know, get the entire net banking sorted for them, entire transactions का, you know, like let's say when money is deducted from my account and comes to your account, you know, all those changes that happens. So basically banking and financials में ज़्यादा काम करता है. Almost 60% of the revenue comes over here. The other 40% comes, you know, from technology development. Now where exactly they do this technology development? They do this in this transit, transit industry. Let's say for example you're in a metro, like you know you want to do, you're in a metro, इस metro का app बनाना, यहाँ पे route development करना, or let's say you know for example you might have seen this, you know, like if you've used a metro, like you get this, I don't know how it works in other metros, but you just tap your credit card and you know it takes this, you know, wherever you board the train and deboard the train, you know, वो अपना पैसा काट लेता है just by taking your, you know, card the information that is there. और फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू नो लाइक यू नो ऑल दिस आपको आपके ट्रेन में जो यू नो ये रूट का दिखाता है, वेयर टू स्टॉप, यू नो ऑल दिस सॉफ्टवेयर का जो चीज़ें हैं, दिस इज वॉट दे डू. ठीक है, सो दिस इज द अदर 40% ऑफ द रेवेन्यू दैट कम्स इन. नाउ हियर इज अ थिंग, दिस पीपल हैड गाइडेड फॉर a 30% का ग्रोथ बिकॉज दे हैड डन एन एक्विजिशन इन द लास्ट ईयर. दे हैड डन एन एक्विजिशन ऑफ दिस कंपनी कॉल्ड एज Phoenix. Okay, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And without the acquisition, they had guided for a 20 to 25% kind of growth. Now, if you look at the Q1 ka numbers, sales grew by 32%. PAT, that is that PAT grew only by 14%. My guess is this operating leverage has been a miss because of this acquisition that they did. The acquisition came through in Q3, Q4 of last year. So maybe because of that acquisition, there has been an impact, you know, overhead cost बढ़ गया आपका. Maybe that is why, you know, the operating leverage has been a miss. Otherwise, there seems to be no reason. Margins also is pretty stable. EBITDA margin was 21% last time. This time it is 20%. Okay. Now, यहाँ पे other than that, if you look at the order book is also quite strong. Order book is at 1400 crores, which is roughly a 35% का increase. If you look at about the, if you talk about the, you know, if you talk about the updates that is there, these people have got a lot of orders. उनका banking में actually they have a very good hold, you know, in banking. I'm actually very surprised because they're working literally with all the top major banks that is there, whether it is SBI, Middle East में एक top major bank से काम कर रहा है in the African regions. And another thing that I found very interesting over here is usually when you talk about IT companies, right, उनका जो majority of the revenue that is there, it comes from international. Either it could be US or Europe, you know, from that range. But this is the first IT company I would say I came across, you know, जिसका India से, you know, the revenue is 60% and the other, like, you know, Europe and USA somewhere like 13 to 20% in that range. Okay, so overall a great set of numbers over here by Aurionpro Solutions. Not only that, इनका अगर मैं even if I talk about valuation factor also, so they are planning a 30% growth rate compared to the previous base. FY25 से 30% का growth rate. So if you take FY25 का revenue, उसका 30% अगर आप लेते हो, it is roughly around, you know, 1530 crores, 1530 crores. Okay. And if I target a PAT margin of 15%, which is as of Q1 का PAT margin, I'm assuming, you know, the PAT margin wouldn't increase, it would be 15%. Best case scenario, let's say it is inching up to like 16 to 17% kind of PAT margin. If I take then the if you look at the PAT comes up to somewhere between 230 to 250 crore. That gives you a 1 year forward P of somewhere between 30 to 35. That is the range, which I think is a quite good deal because it comes, you know, the growth rate and the P is literally in the same range. If they continue to have an EPS ka expansion, hopefully from the next quarter the operating leverage is visible. Along with that, if it is in this kind of PE, I think the PE rating should happen easily, but the EPS ka growth also should happen, you know, for the upcoming quarters. So overall, I would say Aurionpro is a good company over here. Great, good. I'm waiting for the con call. Let's see, you know, the management commentary in the con call is good. Then we have Bhagyanagar. Bhagyanagar, अगर आप देखते हो, Bhagyanagar is a company which makes copper and copper related products. Okay. Guys, I don't know if you can hear the drilling noise because there's some construction work happening on. I hope it's not getting detected in the video. But anyways, the other company that we're going to do is Bhagyanagar. Now you might see, right, in the wire and cable industry, you know, वो wire के अंदर, वो cable के अंदर you use the copper wire. या आपका, for example, if you're working in any kind of radiator industry, आप copper के एक sheet डालते हो. To, you know, so basically these people make this copper related products. It could be wire, it could be cables, it could be this copper का sheet, copper का bars, you know, and they sell it, you know, to either it could be a wire and cable industry, transmission industry, you know, जहाँ पर भी ये यूज होता है. ठीक है, so this is what Bhagyanagar Industries does. Even in the automotive industry also they have a good hold. Now here is the thing, अगर आप देखते हो इसका भी वही है, सेल्स इज अप बाय 31% एंड पैट जो है पैट वेंट फ्रॉम 1.3 करोड़ से 7 करोड़ तक. सो ओवर हियर द सेम थिंग एज व्हाट वी डिड विद दैट एक कंपनी जो है आर्टसन जो है, सेम थिंग इज दैट लो बेस इफेक्ट बिकॉज ऑफ इलेक्शंस. The other thing is I do not know what is the scene with copper ka price ka fluctuation, because if they are getting this much of margin ka expansion over here, maybe there is that element of that raw material ka price also that has played out. But other than that, overall it is a shit company, it is a poison company. I don't think again this is the kind of company that would do well if it weren't for that low base kind of effect. Then another poison company that we have is Colgate, right? Colgate-Palmolive, the sales is down by 5%. I mean, yes, this was the kind of company probably 10 years back when I was young. It did create or generate a lot of wealth for its shareholders, but as time passes by, the ant becomes an elephant, and it becomes very difficult for elephant to grow at the rate at what it used to grow 10 years ago. So obviously this is another poison company. Sales is down by 4%. Think about it now. Today if you go, you'll find Colgate ka products in every nook and corner of India, right? Like you go to a tier 8 city also, you'll find Colgate over there. So you do not have any more places for you to expand there. I mean, you can't do more distribution. आप अपना प्राइस भी बढ़ा नहीं सकते हो. So what good it is? It's good for nothing over here. So obviously this is one poison company. Then another good company that has posted its result, I would say, is Credit Access Grameen. I think Rajesh has already done a video on Credit Access Grameen. You must watch it, because if you look at the entire microfinance space, वहाँ पे cycle is turning for the good. And Credit Access Grameen का, if I won't cover Credit Access Grameen over here, you have to watch this video. But in Credit Access Grameen, they had a percentage of their book come from Karnataka, and वो Karnataka ordinance का issue भी था, which was a little bit of a backlog over here. Even that is getting solved for them. So overall, it is good. I think with the entire microfinance space, if you look at it in the last quarter, all of the microfinance companies, unka asset quality started getting better. But the only thing that they mentioned was कि yes, asset quality is getting better, but हमारा जो earnings growth का momentum जो है वो अभी तक नहीं आया है, right? Like the loan book that is there, it is not growing at that, it's not, उसका momentum अभी तक नहीं आया है. But now if you see again, even this का the narrative has changed, because if you look at that Jana Small Finance Bank, even they literally mentioned this. Just check their press release update where they mentioned कि along with asset quality getting better, that microfinance space का the entire that loan book growth is coming, that earnings momentum जो है वो आ रहा है, ठीक है. So Credit Access Grameen is good, excellent, you can tell, along with that Aurionpro जो था, that is also good. Then the other company that we will be doing, which is another poison, is Dalmia Bharat, which is a cement company jiska sales has been flat, right? And I think this is probably the least interesting company in the cement space, because we have Ultratech Cement Co, jiska, by the way, if you remember, is the base is like I think 3 lakh crore market cap, something around that range, and that grew by 13%. Then we have JK Cements, I believe that grew by 18%. Then we have India Cements, which was flat. Then we have Nuvoco, which grew by 10%. Sagar Cements, which grew by 20%. So you see that, right? There are other companies which are of probably a bigger base than Dalmia Bharat. Like example for Ultratech Cement Co, that grew by 13%, and Dalmia Bharat jo hai, it hardly grew by the sales is flat, literally flat. So obviously this is another poison company, and that Indian Cements jo hai are probably the least interesting play in the entire cement space, आप बोल सकते हो. The last company that we will be doing is Dixon, right? As you know, Dixon जो है, Dixon does आपका business model देखते हो तो it is merely a B2B manufacturing company, and 65% of the revenue comes by manufacturing आपका mobiles, आपका laptop and other EMS products that are there. That is where the majority of the revenue comes, okay? Other than that, these people also manufacture आपका TV, LED devices, आपका lighting solutions and all of it. Now these people, surprisingly very good result, extremely good result I would say, because they had guided for 50% kind of growth rate in the Q4 con call. They told they'll grow by 50% for the next entire year, and the sales grew by around 95%, and the PAT that is there, PAT also grew by 100% that is there. So margins also is improving, everything is going on well, great. And unlike the other companies, it's not like these people had that low base effect in the last year bhi unka sales grew, last Q1 mein bhi unka sales grew by 100%. So on that big base, again, if you're able to grow at 95%, really great. Uska agar aap dekhte ho, mobile and EMS ka division grew by 131%, which is not a surprise because they had a really good order book by the end of Q4, and they were very confident about achieving, I think they were making 3 to 3.5 million phones per month or something, and they were very confident about this, the order book that is coming from this mobile automobile and EMS ka division. Home appliances grew 3%, but the other two divisions that is there, that is the consumer electronics, which includes LED and TV and refrigerator. Obviously, refrigerator and all the cooling products, as you know, we are getting an early signs ki like, because of monsoon, all the cooling products that are there, unka sales acha nahi chal raha. LED, obviously, TV ka yahan pe, it is becoming a sunset industry. There's a lot of competition over here. That is why it is not performing well. And lighting products, whether you look at Polycab, whether you look at Havells, whether you look at any other lighting company, one common narrative is price erosion. Itna supply hai, demand nahi hai. As a result, everybody is cutting corners, price pe discount de raha hai. So itna price erosion ho raha hai that, ultimately, no matter if you have volume growth also, because of the price erosion, the sales is not clocking up over here. But overall, a good set of number from Dixon Technologies. They have overdone whatever the guidance is there. Excellent set of numbers. Only problem with Dixon is, as you know, because even though their EPS is also growing by 100% rate, the problem is it still comes up to a very high valuation that is there, right? So if you are playing these, it falls in that high growth, high PE category. So if you are playing companies like Dixon, Ixigo, Eternal also for that matter, right? All of these companies, make sure your exit strategy is very intact. Like you're that kind of person who's not willing to cut, like if you're somebody like that, who's willing to cut at, the minute you see that, like sales deka, you're able to figure out, what is wrong, and, just immediately you're able to place an order and, just get the fuck out of this place, then great, go ahead and play this company. Absolutely nothing wrong. But otherwise, don't. It's like playing with fire. It's like playing with tiger. I would say riding a tiger. So, or another example I can give is, jab aapka train ka station aata, you have to hold like this and you have to get down immediately when your train station comes. It's like that. So, as long as you're able to do so, right, then okay. But other than that, it becomes very hard at this base, obviously, to get that PE re-rating to happen. As long as growth is there, it would make money. But obviously, the minute that growth goes, it becomes very tough. And also, it becomes very tough at this base, to get at this base and this valuation to get PE re-rating also. It's impossible, but it just becomes tougher over here to get PE re-rating over here. Okay? So that's that about these companies. I think I did around 10 odd companies. The best of the lot is Aurionpro Solutions and Credit Access Grameen. You can also check this company called as Bluejet, but since I don't track the entire pharma and CDMO car space, I do not know what is happening with Bluejet, but I did read about it, I think a couple of quarters back, and they had a lot of capex going on and everything. But to be very honest, I can like put my checklist to it and I can tell you if it is a good or bad thing. But it's more like if I were to analyze Bluejet, it's more like theoretical. Let's say, for example, if you have a test coming up in your school, right, and आप रट्टा मार के तो पास हो जाओगे, but ultimately आपको टीचर में वाइवा में प्रैक्टिकल से कुछ पूछा, then आपको तो फट जाएगा. It's like that. That's my case with Bluejet. I can like put my checklist and it's the same thing. I get it theoretically, I understand, but I lack the understanding in terms of business model and everything. So practically, if you ask me, I wouldn't make jack shit sense of it. And I have to be honest over here, so that is why I would never touch something like Bluejet, because I just don't understand it, and it's okay. I'll play my party somewhere else. And if you talk about the other things, I would say completely avoid out of this would be Adroit Info, Artson, Colpal, that is Colgate-Palmolive, Bhagyanagar, Dalmia Bharat. Dixon is decent, I would say. Dixon is good, decent / in that list I would put it. Yeah, that's that about today's video. I will make another video because I have many more companies. I don't know if you can see. This was a list. It starts from here yesterday, and I'll have to cover all these companies. I don't know if you can see from here where this thing starts. All this from here to here. This is another sheet, and yeah, until probably like till here. These are the companies I need to cover by today, because yesterday I was out on a road trip, so I didn't actually do much. But yeah, I think I'll have to do 3 to 4 videos. But overall, that's that, guys, and I hope you'll have a nice day. Bye.